Hey everyone, it's Pat Anderson here, and I'm just so excited that you have just taken the time to join us on our call here tonight. It is my pleasure, absolute pleasure, to have Dr. Ben Bowers with me. Hey Ben, how are you?
Hey, Dr. Pat, how you doing, young lady? Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too. Dr. Ben has Bowers Wellness Center in Wichita. He's a board certified internist along with a chiropractor, and he has so many other degrees. And I just absolutely love having him on our team. We've learned so much from him over the past 10 years. It's just been amazing. So tonight I thought, Dr. Ben had the oil in his practice for, I don't know, how many years now, Ben?
Well, it's got to be over 10, 12 years for sure, maybe even a little bit longer.
Yeah, I know. I've been personally taking it for many. I don't even remember how many years now. And I just thought, you know what? We're just gonna, in simple terms, maybe talk a little bit about what he's using it for, and just getting your eyes and ears opened to the
Mhm.
possibilities of what Zija now is bringing to our company, because I think it's a game changer. I think it could double, triple the size of Zija over the next year if we all do this properly. So, Ben, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge.
Glad to be here, Dr. Pat. So one of the funniest things for me that I've always looked at and trying to explain this to my patients when I prescribe them, a couple things. One is they're like, wait a minute, doc, you want me to take marijuana? I go, no, I don't want you taking that. What I want is take the benefits of it. And the history goes all the way back to, I guess, all the way back to the 1940s, then 1960s, even though the concept of what we're going to be talking about has been around for thousands of years. And it was just our country that kind of changed some of those things back in the early turn of the century, last in the 1900s century anyway. And so what I really started looking at is, okay, what's wrong with Americans? What's wrong with our body? What's wrong with our health? And one thing that's always kind of both intrigued me and plagued me is that why doesn't the brain know what's happening in the body, and then vice versa? Why doesn't the body know what's happening in the brain? And if we think about the brain is 80% reception, information coming into the body, and then it's only 20% mechanical, meaning going back down to make corrections in the body. And it was interesting, there was a theory back in 1964 that maybe there is some system that we don't know of that's a disconnect. Well, they found that system in the early 80s, and we happened to name that the endocannabinoid system. Now, the reason we gave it that name is because of what cannabinoids are. They're these little hair-like things that grow on certain things, specifically marijuana and hemp, right? And when we looked at that, we found that those are the only things that we have found so far in nature that specifically communicate with those key components inside our nervous system. Now, we have a component that's in the brain, and we call that CB1. And then we have a component that's in the rest of the body that we call CB2. And where we have found the disconnect is the communication between CB1 and CB2. It's like, it's noise. It's as if I don't speak Chinese and you did, and I speak Spanish and you don't understand it because you speak Chinese and not Spanish. There's noise, there's communication, but it becomes irritation. And that frustration or irritation is the disconnect between the brain and the body. So even as in chiropractic, what we talk about in the central nervous system, as you connect the systems back together and they start communicating, now we start getting reception of different things that we now figure out that's in the body. And so one of the things that we started noticing probably 15 to 20 years ago is that if we could somehow take the CBD, which is called cannabinol, I'll get that out. If we could take that and get that to start making the connection work, now we can start getting the body to become aware of what's happening inside that body. And the body can get the appropriate signals to the brain. The brain can ameliorate or it can produce a different reaction in the body to try to make it happen. One thing that's always got me is, why does cancer grow? And for 15 or 20 years, the brain doesn't know that it's growing. It doesn't attack it. It doesn't come after it. And that's the immune system. And there's a key factor in the immune system that the cannabinoids actually turn on to do several things. Now, for most people, we want to do two things. We want to slow down the progression of disease. And then two, we want to speed up the amount of recovery or the healing. And the cannabinoid system, or the endocannabinoid system, is the only system that we know of that does both of those things. If there's a disease process developing, it contains it, slows it down, and at the same time communicating, it turns back on the healing properties and brings us back up. So when I look at what this system does, the CBD oil, or the CBD concept that we're now bringing out, which we're going to talk about that here in a second, it is so critical that for people who have problems, this may be the missing link, if you will, of connecting the head or the brain back to the body. And therefore it becomes aware of dysfunction or distortion or something that's wrong within the body. And now the brain can adapt to it. So that's kind of the baseline, the key that I love about this is that there is nothing else that we know of. I mean, we have talked about how great moringa is, even the moringa oil, all the things that it does, all the key benefits it brings to the body, but so many few things even touch the ECS, endocannabinoid system. And when we can touch that and turn that on to get communication to start working, wow, now look out. The body now has two great tools that it somehow didn't have connecting. So that's the critical phase that I like about it. And that's what I use so much in my practice for all these years with patients.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. So tell me this, we are going to have a delivery system that not very many companies have. And I'm actually quite excited about that. I've been taking the oil under my tongue just like, most people do.
Right.
But now all of a sudden we've got this patch that we can put on our wrist, back of our neck. I'm going to be putting on my shoulder. No, I'm very excited about that one, And so let's talk about maybe the little bit of difference between, taking one under the tongue or putting it on the patch.
Okay, so we come back to there's only really truly three ways in this body. You breathe, you swallow, and you absorb. Right? So if I put a drop of oil under my tongue, and any oil, there's only one pathway it's going to go into at that point. It's going to absorb through the digestive pathway. Right? Now, we want some of those things to happen inside the mouth because they get in quicker. Right? So that's number one. The problem is that you have to put in so many drops and you don't really know your absorbability. You just know, well, I put in one drop or I put in 3 drops or I put in 5 drops over time, and I'll get to feel what it's doing to me over time. And that's all essential oils that we do that way. That's one of the ways that we gauge the dosing of it, right? So that's number one. Number two, if you inhale it, like what we do with essential oils, by diffusing it or aromatizing it, that's another pathway that it gets into, that we can actually inhale these fine molecules of these oils down into our system, and they're absorbed across the membranes inside of our lungs. And again, we think that maybe 14-15% of what we actually get into our body comes in that way. The third way is you absorb through the skin. Now, most of us are aware of the few things that are critical for life, and one of them is the conversion of vitamin D3. That's one of the very keys you need for every single cell in your body. So it's critical that certain things are absorbed through the skin itself. Now, whether you have 3 layers, 5 layers, or 7 layers of skin, that does make a difference in how much gets absorbed into the body. What I love about the transdermal approach is very simply this. It's a timed release. You don't get a timed release on the oil that you put in your tongue. You don't get a timed release on what you inhale, or those who would do it like a hemp pen or something, inhale it that way. You just get that massive dose and it has to be dealt with. On a transdermal patch, over time, you're going to get this equal amount of doses being absorbed by the body's ability. Now, here's the critical thing that I love about this. It doesn't matter the age or the size. It only matters your absorbability. So let's say, for example, like your shoulder, one of the cool things is by putting the transdermal patch right over the pain area, you'll absorb into it and you'll slow down what I call the mechanoreceptors, or the pain firing mechanisms. At the same time, you speed up the healing of it. All right. So that's one of the critical things about putting a transdermal patch. Well, you can put a drop of oil over there and rub it in and get some benefit. But once it's gone, let's say within 5 or 10 minutes, that amount has been absorbed in, it no longer is going to continue to work on that. The transdermal patch approach is that it will be constantly being released as your body absorbs it. Now, most patches are going to last anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. I've heard our patches will last longer, right? Which means that you don't have to apply as many as often. And this measured release, or the reality, the measured absorbability of that oil into your skin, which for everybody's a little bit different, right? And that's kind of the uniqueness of what this is that you can never absorb too much because your body will shut that off. And that's kind of the beauty of it. But there is a kind of unique one for those who have this question in the back of their mind. If you think you're getting too much, all you got to do is take it off. And it's done, right? Whereas the drops you've been putting in your mouth or the pen that you've been actually inhaling, those take hours to diffuse or get out of the system, whereas the patch doesn't. It's quickly, within 5 minutes of being off, you're no longer exposed to it. That's one of the critical things I like about it. And I do like what you said. It's like, let's say that I have a digestive issue. I can put it down on my abdominal area. I have a back issue. I can put it on my back. I have a knee issue. I can put it on my knee. I can move the patches around to get better improvements for whatever area of pain I have. But what if I don't have joint pain? What if I have neck pain? What if I have headache pain? What if I have breathing difficulty? What if I have liver issues? Whatever it is, I can place that patch in those areas and it absorbs into the skin, gets into that blood area, and moves around. Now, the beauty about what this is in the absorbability of the body, you only absorb to your level of absorption. So that's where the variability of that is. But once you absorb, you get into what's called the interstitial space. And once it gets in there, now the body has what is called the enteric nervous system. And that's where CBD2 is. And that's the thing that starts communicating the body back to the brain. Now, most people are aware of what the marijuana and the psychosomatic stuff happens with CB1. We don't have that. All right. What ours does is communicate CB2 to what they refer to as CBDA, which is strip off, and we get the CBD from. Now we get that correct communication to slow down problems and speed up healing. And that is the beauty. And who can use it? Anybody, not anybody, anybody. So the body aspect, absorbability, and that's why it will be at the correct dose for that body for the time frame that it needs it. And that nobody else is going to be having. That's what I love about it. So as we're entering this market with the CBD oil, as great as our oil will be, and it's not some of these other ones that are based off of either what they call industrial hemp or some of those other factors, or reduced hemp. They have heavy metals, have toxicities, have pesticides, all those things in them that irritate the skin or cause other problems. Ours won't have that. And that's the beauty of what ours is going to have. So it's exciting that our delivery process is light years ahead of what everybody else is doing. What you go down the store, and I don't know how many places I'll drive by and see CBD oil here, it's like, okay, well, what's that? What are you actually purchasing and getting? And what we know, the way that specifically with the Mayo Zija International, how we know our product, we know where it's grown, we know every key thing about that, and we know the entire extraction process and how we produce that oil and put it into that patch. Nobody has that. That's what I love about us, what we have. It's like, look out, this is Katie Bar the Door changing things. And what I love in results-based healthcare, it changes the outcome. And so for us, the end users of the product, we're going to feel that difference. As you and I joke about our age and where we are, how we're feeling better now, 10 years being on the products that we're on, how much more dynamic we feel than we were 10 years ago. The CBD concept that we're going to be dealing with on the transdermal patch, it's going to be that much of another game changer. Because as you get things aware of it, and we could dive into all the different systems, but just think about a couple of systems most people don't think about. The digestive pathway. That's where our biggest problems are. Secondary is the fat tissue, the adipose tissue. People with weight issues, because when you have inflammation, what do? You gain weight. When you can't break things down, you gain weight. This part of the CBD that goes in there, what's called the V component or the variability component, it goes into the fat cells and helps break down all that junk and gets it cleaned up and get it out of you. So that's some of the critical parts of what this CBD is going to do for us. So it is going to be a huge thing for our business.
So part of our weight management system.
Exactly. I didn't really want to throw that in there yet, but it's going to be one of those key factors. For those that have that key unit that's an issue and a problem, right, yes, this will definitely have an effect on it. That's what I love about it. Because it helps with blood sugars, it helps with the pancreas, it helps with the liver, it helps with inflammation, it helps break down fatty tissue. wow, that's what we need. It's another one. So it's a key piece that the rest of everybody else's systems that was missing, ours included, if you look at it this way, is the body and the head weren't connecting correctly. And now we're going to be able to turn that connection back on. The body's going to go, oh, well, let's get rid of all this junk. You know, it's kind of like spring cleaning. Let's clean all this stuff up. Let's get it out of the body because it's detrimental. We don't want to let it just hang around. So that's beautiful. It is awesome.
So what really excites me, Ben, is now we have two very distinct products. Okay, the moringa to get our nutrition in, and now we have the CBD oil. But you can take one or the other, but the combination of the two is what is really going to set our company apart from everybody else.
When you think about all the great stuff that we've talked about that's in moringa, that moringa does for us, and we have hundreds and thousands of research articles to prove what all that does. Well, on the same token, we have all those research articles on the CBD side as well. And the beauty about marrying these two together, now not literally together, but by using the patch and drinking the moringa, I'm telling you what, you're going to have a system that is going to start reconnecting things back together. So the moringa side is bringing us all the raw material to build, if you will. And what the CBD is going to do is say, okay, here's how we're going to build it, and we're going to start bringing the workers in to start making this function. So the template is our DNA or our genome. And so by bringing these together, and we've talked about what moringa does to the genome and what CBD does to the DNA in the genome, now you're able to connect those. And once you start connecting them, now the body can go, okay, get out of my way. I know what to do. And that's one of the things that we talk about, the innate ability of the body. It's the God-given ability that we don't have to tell it what to do. If we give it the raw material and we give the power in which it takes to communicate to get those things to happen, it starts working. And that's how we start getting dynamic change, miraculous change on some of these people. So it is so phenomenal having these come together. I don't know anybody else that has it.
Yeah. I can't wait for another 10 years to see, we were just, as you said, we were just joking. It's my birthday today and you're going to be 62 here very shortly.
Yep.
And, it's almost, and I'm trust me, everyone, I'm being facetious here, but it's almost like we are decreasing in our age and how we feel, etc.
We're slowing the aging process down, Pat. That's what we're doing. Mm-hmm. It isn't that, you think about people who live a long, long time. It's the concept of you can either slow down aging or speed up aging. And what everybody else is doing in this life has been speeding or aging up. We're coming in, we're slowing it down. And that's the beauty. It isn't that we're not getting older. We're getting less older faster.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah. I know the listeners are just so pleased to hear, what you have to say. And I know you've put thousands of patients on this product over the years and had great results. So I appreciate you taking the time to.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate everything you're doing for us and continue to do for us. You're an awesome leader, and I appreciate that very much.
Awesome. Well, every listener, Ben will be back with us. We're going to do some more moringa stuff, and we're just going to have fun this year. This is Zija's year, and I just can't wait for everybody to explode. So take care and have a great night.